There, I threw it on there.
2 viewers. Now it's down to 1. Hello.
They're not on today.
We apologize for the technical difficulties. Had problems getting our sound out broadcast to y'all. Hopefully we have got that fixed. Welcome you to another episode of Two Guys Who Die, starring your hosts Rob Wade and Robert Garza. Coming to you live from Del Rio, Texas. What was that? You can find us on Ustream.tv. Just search for Two Guys Who Dive. Of course, if you're listening to us now, you already know where we are. This week's episode, Saturday, February 18th, 2012. Episode 5, Accidents Will Happen. Which, in fact, we've been dealing with a lot of accidents. Awesome. Okay, let's hope that we actually have audio this time.
Yeah.
We should know shortly. I have my wife going to check us out on the website, and hopefully she'll report back that we have audio. But if we don't, we'll probably cut the episode short for today, so we can work out the technical difficulties. And we'll probably re-record the show and on an off night and go ahead and send it up to YouTube so you can catch the podcast later. And so here we are. Oh, you have a beep on your phone.
It's an email. They do trickle in slowly.
As do texts and Facebook page messages, etc.
Actually, everything's gotten fixed. It's funny, but you know, I've been plagued with issues with my phone, on and off, and I always vent. You know,
well, of course,
I'm having trouble with my email. My Facebook isn't working. It's not updating. Coming to find out that it's an actual the Facebook problem that I was having with my iPhone was actually a Facebook issue.
Oh, okay.
Was
it with the app or with Facebook itself?
No, it was with the app. It was something that they changed on the app, and it started affecting not every user, which was kind of funny. Because I remember asking some people that I knew that had an iPhone and had the Facebook app on there. They were like, "No, mine's working fine."
Right.
But yet, it wasn't working for me. So I thought.
And we got the thumbs up. The audio is working. Awesome.
We got audio. But anyway, then the email, my biggest pet peeve, and I still haven't stopped, complaining about it, is the Google push notification.
Really?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Apple doesn't have push notification for Gmail.
No, I'll have to admit that was slow in coming to the Windows Phone. Of course, that was kind of the we hate Google and we want them to die kind of thing. And Google was of course resisting playing in the Windows world because they recently hit 50% of the market, believe it or not. So they keep increasing, but they didn't want to play nice with Microsoft for a while. So they absolutely weren't letting Microsoft do any other apps to kind of hook into the API for the push notifications. But here last couple of months, just after Mango came out, which was the 7.5 update to the Windows Phone 7 devices, they finally got Google to say, all right, we'll do that. As a matter of fact, Google got a little jiggy with it, and they opened up the whole calendar bit too. So now you can I think I may have shared this last week, but I don't remember. They opened up where you can hook into 25 calendars. I'm like, golly, what do you do with 25 Google calendars or any calendars? I mean, come on.
I use my calendar a lot, and I actually use the Google Calendar, which works fine on my phone. So if I do something on the Google Calendar, it'll do it. But for some reason, it's just a push notification doesn't work.
Wow.
The only ability I have is manual, so I have to open up the email, and if I have an email in there, once I open it, it'll come in. But
now, what version of iOS are you running right now?
5.0.1, which is the latest update.
You sure that's the latest? Well, I know they're about to come up with yet another update, and it's supposed to fix a few of the little issues that folks are having. I don't know if I know that 5.01 didn't.
It was supposed to address the battery issue,
which it seemed to, at least what I'm hearing from folks that use the iPhone. On some it did, on some it didn't. I don't know if it, because as I understand, Apple has the iPhone actually manufactured by a couple of different places. Most notably Foxconn, which just went through a bunch of issues with the whole we're using child labor, we're underpaying everybody, and it's poverty conditions, so they're kind of all dealing with that issue, which, same thing that Walmart went through a few years back. But it may be that some of the ones coming out of one location that fixed the problem for, and then ones for the other location it didn't fix the problem for.
Well, I was running the old OS on my iPad, and when I updated to the 5.0.1, I did notice a battery issue kind of started acting kind of funny. I didn't see a substantial drain in battery power, but I did notice a little bit more use out of it. Then I plugged it into my laptop, just to actually download some songs to it. I could have used the cloud, but no, I wanted them to download faster. So.
Well, wait a minute. I thought the iCloud was pretty impressive, at least from folks that I know. Even some folks who are Windows fans say that the iCloud has been executed pretty well.
No, it works great. It works great, but it's just there's some songs that I haven't uploaded. I haven't sent to the cloud yet. I'm kind of holding them down in the basement. So I wanted to transfer them over to my iPad, and when I plugged it in, it actually came up that it had an update, which was weird. Yeah, because it was still the 5.01.
Right.
And so it installed, and I guess it fixed the battery issue, because now I haven't charged it in, and I'm not joking, I have not charged my iPad in a week, and it's still at 86%.
Now, I was going to say the iPad has historically had a pretty awesome battery life, and has pretty much set the bench for everybody else, which is why those of us in the Windows world are excited about Windows 8 being out later on this year, and notably they're going to be putting it out on the ARM processor, which is a fantastic line of processors. Those who remember the Windows Mobile days know that a lot of the manufacturers of those devices, they're just PDAs, but those were ARM devices, and man, those things just run forever. Even with high energy using apps, you're running on the PDAs. Of course, they weren't phones, but so you have the additional radio issues. But even the Wi-Fi ones, just I've got a Dell Axum X3i that has the Wi-Fi B, and it used, I can't remember which model of, I was up on all that stuff back then, the ARM processor, and it was just, man, it was days before I had to charge that thing back up. So
when I worked with technology for the school district here in Del Rio, I remember they had given us some Dell Axiums,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it worked great. The only thing is when the Wi-Fi was turned on, it would just kill the battery. It wouldn't.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, which model? Because there was a the one that came out of after the X3i. I think it added Bluetooth and something that they did. I remember reading on the forums back then that it just killed. The Bluetooth worked great, but the Wi-Fi just ate the lunch on the battery.
Well, I had all of that disabled. I actually had the Bluetooth disabled. I mean, I didn't need Bluetooth for it. But just the Wi-Fi alone. It was the one after the one that you have because it was a lot thinner.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was awesome. I used to like the whole syncing. I used to be able to sync it, and it would sync my email from work to it, no matter where I was.
That was why it was such a very popular device in the corporate meme. For a while, we were using them at the base because that was when they did start making phone versions, but they were really PDAs, which haven't have phone circuitry, so it wasn't a really great integration at that time. But the base was using those because, man, you could provision them properly for a secured network, and it was great.
Yeah, they were good. They were all right for the time. We used them for various things, of course, email, work orders. We had an app that would send our work orders. We would just sync them, and it would put in all our work orders, and then we could actually close them on the PDA or the Dell. And then once I put it on the docking station, it would automatically close them out, on the computer. So it was actually pretty good.
So how long did you all use the Windows mobile devices before you finally said, okay, we got to go something else? And then what did you go to?
You know, I left the department, and they were still using them.
Oh, okay.
But they've since gone to iPads now.
Went to iPads. Nice.
Yeah, they wanted something that worked.
Whatever. Thing is, those still aren't tremendously corporate or enterprise friendly. And that's the big thing. Everybody's looking for. I say everybody. The people in the circles that I hang with, that I work with, they're looking for the next big corporate thing, which is why everybody's clamoring over, well, what can we do? What can Android do? What can Apple do? What can Windows do? Of course, those who were used to the BlackBerry being the other corporate platform, and you can at this point, BlackBerry RIM can just hang it up. I mean, they're losing market share like a sinking ship. I mean, it's horrible. And they've only just now started getting, oh, wow, touchscreens, capacitive, wow, what an idea. Wow, you mean you can move your fingers around, gestures, and actually do stuff? Everybody was used to the, tap, 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 which is great if you're a script kiddie, walking out through high school, whatever. But
the scroll wheel.
Yeah, exactly. But they kind of came way late to that particular arena, that meme, and so their market share has just been plummeting, and everybody's been jumping to one of the three big ones that are left. So,
Sandy had an BlackBerry Torch.
Yeah.
And that thing worked awesome. I gotta actually just throw a shout out for that one. I used to have an old BlackBerry. I think it was an 8310 or I remember an 8900, and it worked great. It was an older phone. It was a T-Mobile phone. It worked great. Just got kind of tired with it, and then went to my Touch 4G, which was a lot better. I went back to an actual full screen touch screen phone, Android. Everything worked, including my Gmail. If you're listening, Apple, I love your products, but gotta get push notification working. It's my primary email, guys. Come on.
I was just reading that a number of the folks who are in the know are saying that it sure is sounding like Google is going to start locking down Android. It's going to be not so open source. I guess they've kind of figured we're dumping on the market every type of device. I mean, it seems like you buy an Android phone, it's the latest and greatest, until next week, and another one comes out, and they're like, well, the pace, because it's open source and they can just throw whatever version or flavor of Android they want on the devices. They're just kicking them out left and right, from little cheesy ones that as soon as you sneeze on them, they collapse on you, to the really high-end ones that have the really high-resolution screens, etc. That cost you an arm and a leg. You might as well buy an iPad. They're flooding the market with it, which is why they were able to so quickly grab the market share. It's not necessarily that they're a more popular device because of the operating system itself, because there's still a number of different versions out there, some that work better than others, and some that work better on a higher-end machine versus a lower-end machine, etc. But because somebody who's just getting into the smartphone market can go, oh wow, I can get one for $99 or I get one for $50, and if I'm really into the customization thing, then oh wow, cool, I have a smartphone and I can do all this stuff with it. And unfortunately, what that means, though, is you get a lot of frustrated folks when they don't get the right one that has the right version of the OS on it. At least with iOS with Apple, it's the same version floating across. I mean, the beauty and the curse is that it's the same thing from machine to machine. So they all work, or they don't. None of them work. It's that kind of thing. So, there's a consistency of apps, of user experience, and consistency of, I can buy all these cute little trinkets and they all use the same port, and I can plug it into my iPod or my iPhone or my iPad, and they all are pretty much shareable.
Well, I was reading an article today on USA Today that they should be releasing the new iPad 3 in March.
That's what I heard.
And they actually put out some customer questions. What kind of
what do you want in the iPad 3?
Yeah, what do you want? Did you see that?
Yeah.
They want a USB port. They want expansion memory slot on there.
Does that sound familiar? They're wanting a Windows tablet.
Exactly.
They're wanting a PC is what they want.
They want all this accessibility, and Apple isn't going to go for it, but still, I mean, I wouldn't mind a USB. I think that would be good, because I could actually put my key in there, transfer files to it without having to either email them to myself or connect it to my computer. But
well, I have to admit, when it comes to the smartphone, I get into debates with folks over all these different things that they want. I'm like, if you give me enough built-in storage on the machine, I don't need a slot for a card, because that's like sneakernet. That's like running around. To me, that's like running around with a floppy disk. And of course, there's probably folks watching. If they're watching, what's a floppy disk?
There's probably folks out there still using floppy disks.
The sad part is. But yeah, that's like using a floppy disk. It's like you've got, and you can't get a smartphone without getting some sort of data plan. You just simply can't get them unless you buy it off market type thing. But you're going to have access to the cloud. It doesn't matter whether you're using Apple's iPhone or Google's Android devices or Microsoft's Windows Phone. That's where everything's going. It's in the cloud. So as long as that implementation is pretty decent, and it really is across all the platforms, that's where you're going to move your stuff through. So having an external card, if you've got plenty of storage on the device, what's the point of having that hardware in there? There's just one more thing that can stop working.
I think it's just something else to have to carry as well. I'm carrying jump drives and everything. When I can just go to a location that has Wi-Fi or free Wi-Fi and just download it. You know what? I got it. Give me a sec. Just download it to my device. And wham.
Well, if you got your cable, you typically can plug it in. I run into this issue at work. I supervise a data management shop there, and one of the things that we're constantly on guard for is the network flagging, because somebody plugged their smartphone into because that's prohibited.
Yeah, we talked about that also last week.
Like, people, come on. It's going to know if you plug it in. It sends a little signal. If your computer knows it got something plugged in, the little message that comes up and says, oh, I found a new device. Guess what? The network management shop knows you've plugged something in. So, but anywhere else that doesn't get anal retentive about their security, you can plug your cable in, you can transfer your files, typically in most cases. Now, the one thing that folks in the Windows world have been complaining about is that you can't currently, without using homebrew software, use your storage. You can't plug it in and use it like a USB drive, which for me, I don't need that, simply because I've got, I'm happy with my data plan, and I'm able to move files without even, it's just ubiquitous to me, that's my dream. I want to sit down on my computer, do something, work on a project, music or Word document, whatever, then get up from there and grab my tablet, go into the living room, and can pick up exactly where I left off, continue working on it. And, I'm going to go somewhere. I have my smartphone, and then I go to, I'm sitting in a waiting room or at the airport waiting, and I continue right from there, not skipping a beat. That's where it's going. That's where I cannot wait for it to get that way.
Well, some of the products that Microsoft's come out with should make that pretty easy for you.
Yeah.
From what I've seen.
There's some pretty cool stuff. I'm anxious for February 29th because the Windows 8 Consumer Preview comes out. It's supposed to be feature complete. And I've got a spare machine over in the corner here that's got the Developer Preview, which I'm loving, but of course it's not feature complete. So, man, as soon as that, I'll be like 12:01.
You're gonna be at Walmart.
No, I'm gonna be downloading that puppy.
Oh, okay.
12:01 on February 29th. I'm gonna be downloading that thing on the.
Is that why you bought a new router, an N router, so you can download faster the gigabit?
Well, hopefully we'll see a little bit better performance out of the podcasts and as well as other things. I have noticed improvements.
Awesome.
It's amazing how great the technology has gotten over time. And here we are taking up like the half hour of this show just about tech. But that's why it's called Two Guys Who Dive and not just like a scuba diving program, is because we are two guys who dive a lot, but we will also want to have the freedom to talk about different
and we are also two guys who are technical too.
That's true. And you will often see us if you catch us on Facebook or even on the show here. We'll get into little debates over stuff because I'm a fanboy for the Windows stuff. Although I don't cut them any slack when they make really, really stupid decisions. But then I'm pretty fair. I think I'm pretty fair.
Having Microsoft products at home, and I'm a big fan of Microsoft. I'm not gonna slam them down. I know they're a little late getting into the phone issue, the phone RAM, but nonetheless, they're at least making a try for it, and they do have an awesome product. I gotta hand it down for that. But if the phone is actually a good phone, it works great.
Yeah.
I boasted some time ago, also talking about the Titan phone.
Yeah.
I was very impressed when I walked into the AT&T store. I must have been there about 45 minutes playing with the phone, and I actually had to call Robert and say, hey, wait a minute, I logged onto the phone with my MSN account. How do I delete it? He goes, well, the only way to get rid of that bad boy is to reset the phone.
Right.
Well, how do I do that? Because I didn't know the phone.
They actually let you do that. That's
well, no, they didn't know, because I was standing there for 45 minutes playing with the phone. I was making phone calls off of it, and I was calling my cell phone and just to see how it works.
Hey, wow, it works as a phone.
But I had to reset the phone there at the shop. So if you're listening and you work at AT&T, the reason the Titan I wasn't working was because I messed with it. But no, I'm sure it worked great. But no, it was great. The only downside to the Titan is it only has a 16 gigabyte.
Exactly.
And it's not upgradable. But if that phone was in 32, it would have definitely looked tempting to me.
When I first went, I held off going from a feature phone to a smartphone because I wanted to see if the Windows Phone device was going to be what I was hoping for. And it lacked some things coming out the gate. Everybody that bought the phone knows that. But there was the expectation that updates would be coming that would add other features, but they just wanted to get it out the door. And even so, I was really, really pleased with it. It was very fast. But I did a lot of research going in. There were only about 6 devices that were being released across Samsung, HTC, LG, even Dell initially. But of all of those, only 2 had a user-accessible flash card in them. Now, they weren't like a side mount type deal, top mount that you see in the typical, Android phones. You had to pop the cover and slide it in, which is fine. And it wasn't something that like Microsoft was saying, oh, by the way, the Samsung Focus has a flash card that you can upgrade. It was just kind of Samsung built it with one, and we sort of support it, but we're not going to tell you go out and get it because of that. But I did go out and get it because of that. It came with, I think it came with
16?
8. The original
8.
Focus had 8. But with that, it could go up to 32 gigs on the card. So I stuck a fast Class 4 32 gig card in there, and so I've been very happy with 40 gigs on this machine. So it's like, as much as I like these phones, and they've got the additional features like a bigger screen and front-facing camera and a little bit faster processor, I'm like, but I really like having 40 gigabytes of storage on my device, So, but the Nokia Lumia 900 may be the one that flips me. It's only got 16 gigs as well, but man, that's a sweet looking phone.
You just want the camera, Robert. That's all
well, the camera is good because Nokia has kind of been known for their cameras, but everybody who's played with the teaser versions that have come out just drools over this phone. And of course, I could either do that or wait until towards the end of year, Christmas time, the Windows Phone 8s are supposed to start rolling. Those will supposedly start supporting dual-core processors and have user-accessible flash drives again, or flash ports again. So,
but I must note though, the new iPhone 4S does have a dual-core processor, so.
Yeah, but it needs it. See, I run my Windows Phone, first gen Windows Phone, up against a lot of the other phones, and it just, matter of fact, for those who are interested, go search out. I was smoked by Windows Phone, and there's this really cool campaign that's going on. This guy is going around all over the country, and he's challenging people to come up with whatever phone, and he'll challenge you to any typical function that you want to do, whether it's taking pictures, uploading photographs, accessing games, whatever. And it's overwhelmingly beating the... I mean, there are some draws in a couple of cases where, like, a iPhone beat it on this, or the top Android phone beat it on that. But for the most part, it's been pretty impressive. So, and that's with a single-core processor. But that's because the OS it's designed to take advantage of that. Because as you add more cores, more processors, you're going to use more battery life, and so it becomes a bigger challenge for, I don't care which OS you go with. That's a big challenge to try and find out, okay, how can we optimize things to where it only uses those extra cores when it needs to, for gaming typically. That's what's driving a lot of stuff.
Well, my phone works great, so I'm not going to complain. Anyway.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, no, it works great. Just
push
notification.
All right. Yeah. Get that fixed. Put that on the top of your agenda.
Fix now.
So, nobody in the chat room. Darn. Well, how about we talk about a little bit of diving? We do have a little bit of news to share. If you go out to www.delriodiveclub.com, if I can spell it, I have posted up there our upcoming classes for the year. And so we have classes typically starting in May, because that's when the temperatures start getting a little bit more acceptable. Although you're still probably going to need to wear like a full wetsuit, probably a 5 or maybe a 3. But I've got if you go out to the Dive Club website and click on the forums, I have a pinned thread up there that says Open Water Classes for 2012. So I do have one tentatively scheduled for the weekend. These are typically the last full weekend of each month. In April, though, I rarely get get folks signed up for that unless they're just really itching. I'm going on a cruise somewhere. Yeah, exactly. So I've got something coming up on the 26th through 29th of April, and then 24 through 27 May, followed by 28 June through the 1st of July, and then 26th through the 29th of July, and 23rd through 26th of August. Now, those are all basic open water classes because that's overwhelmingly what we see folks getting into. However, if you've got your basic certification, you would like to get your advanced certification, I'd be more than happy to set you up with that. I would prefer to go with a fairly decent sized class. It just makes it more fun, as it is with any class. But by all means, if you are itching to get your advanced course, which I absolutely try to recommend you do, it's important to constantly be learning. There's so much more you can learn. The basic course is, of course, you get certified, and it's for life. As long as you keep up with your skill set, dive as frequently as you can, it's great. But of course, what you need to do is, if you want to go to the more exciting dives, like deeper dives, which most of your wreck diving is going to be, and if you've not done a wreck dive, shame on you. It's awesome. But those are typically deeper dives, so you need to get the advanced courses. PADI, the PADI organization, they refer to the 3 E's as far as the cycle of scuba diving. You start out with the education piece, because obviously if you don't know how to use the equipment, how to dive properly, then you're just inviting danger. Then you get the equipment. You need to follow up immediately getting equipment, because if you have equipment, you will dive more frequently than if you have to rent all the time. And then follow that up with experience. You go out and do it. But then you realize, okay, now I've done some diving, got some experience, and I'd like to do night diving or deep diving or wreck diving. Well, then you need to get additional education, and then there's any equipment that's necessary to go with that increased level of skill, and then go out and experience it. And so it's a continuing cycle to whatever level that you plan on to dive on a regular basis. Last week we kind of a little bit of discussion about some of the typical equipment that we dive with, and we kind of mentioned that we would discuss just a little bit more of that. Fortunately, didn't have time to get some pictures of us in our various regalia together, but we could still talk about things that we dive with, some of our preferences. Robert, you want to jump in with some of your pieces of equipment? I think you talked about your BC and regulator last year.
Yeah, I spoke about my BC, which is, of course, again, not prone to just one particular type of gear, but it does work well for me, which is Aqualung. One of the more popular brands out there, of course, is like Scuba Pro. It's everywhere. You don't see too much. It's kind of funny. I'll go to a dive shop and I will see Aqualung products out there, but it's not as commercialized for some reason. But it is out there. But you can literally go to a dive shop and you'll see all of the Scuba Pro gear, BCs, wetsuits. You don't see very much Aqualung stuff, but it is actually an awesome product. For those of you that don't know what Aqualung is, it was the old U.S. divers. It used to be back when Jacques Cousteau and
that's right. And Jean-Philippe.
Yeah, and so just kind of switched names and it went straight to Aqualung. It's a really great product. It's been around for a long time. And that's what I use. I use the Aqualung Legend regulator. It's an awesome regulator. But, I've gotten told before, though, that it's an expensive regulator. And it is. But I didn't start with that regulator, mind you. I started out with a lower end. And it wasn't even that lower end. It was the Titan LX. Yep.
Which is also a good.
It is a very good reg.
Now you still have that, right?
I still have it. I haven't used it in a while because I got the Aqualung, the Legend. But I do want to start using it this coming summer. Kind of start alternating.
Yep.
Kind of, get some use out of it.
Exactly.
It's just it's there, and I just want to make sure that everything's still working on it. So I just use it. But the thing I do like about the Legend is that it does have the valve to where I can adjust the breathing function on it. If I go on a deeper dive, which we have, I've actually had to open it up to allow more air in so that I don't have to breathe as heavy, and I still get the air that I need to breathe. And then on shallower dives, I'll turn it down to kind of conserve air.
Exactly. Although, just to clarify for folks who are uninitiated in diving, what he's talking about is on the regulator, it actually has a dial adjustment on the side, and it doesn't turn the air off.
No.
All it does is it changes its how it reacts to the ambient pressure. Yeah. So you can make it more restrictive. Now, it also helps kind of control the bit of the free flow, which is a tendency for some regulators to, when in a certain position, to just, because of the pressure, actually let air out of, through the hose by itself, which you're actually starting the process by breathing. But primarily what it's really good for, that dial is good for at shallower dives, you don't breathe as hard. You're not trying to pull as much air, so you can crank it to where it's a little bit tighter flow. And it's by no means feels restrictive.
And it's not.
Right.
We did a dive at, I think it was at 115 feet, 120. No, I think it was 110, 115 feet. And I had it cranked down all the way to the lowest valve. I mean, the lowest.
Right.
And I was breathing still fine. I didn't have any. I wasn't struggling to get any air. But it is there, and it's a cool feature. I like to have it. When we did my personal best dive, I actually had to adjust it that time. But you're talking about 130 something feet, and let me tell you, the pressure's kind of great at that depth. If you've never gone down that far, for somebody as big as I am, I was definitely working to get that air, But then when I adjusted my reg, I was breathing just small little normal breaths, and I was still getting the amount of air that I needed.
I tend to be the same way. I definitely like having the variable control. Mm-hmm. All of my primary regulators have that capability.
Of course, if you're going to really start diving for the first time, you don't necessarily need all of those functions. Like I said, that wasn't my primary regulator when I started. I started out with a good regulator because it is your life source. It is, it's feeding you air.
Absolutely.
So you need to have something that works. But like you mentioned, also, even the least expensive gear is life support, and if it's sold, it's gonna do what it's supposed to do as long as it's maintenanced and you take care of it. But it's one of those things, and I knew this is something that I wanted to do early on that I wanted to do for a good while. So I went with necessarily a little more better and more popular gear.
Right.
So that was my reasoning behind doing that, and it's not necessarily your reasoning to have to go out and get real expensive gear just to start diving, but please go out and get gear, because when you do have it, it does make it easier for you to go out and go diving. Because we'll get a call from us and saying, hey, would you like to dive? Because we do go out there and dive a lot.
Yeah.
We've been known to call in, let me not say that. We've been known to take a
day off
of work to go out and dive. And and then of course, talking about gear, I'm a big fan of Pinnacle wetsuits. There's a lot of great also wetsuits out there. A friend of mine, Dominic, who I'm not sure is watching this podcast, but if he is, hey, what's up, Dominic?
Shame on you if you're not.
Yeah, but he's got a nice Aqualung wetsuit, and it's real stretchy. It's kind of caught my eye. I'm actually eyeballing the 8 mil.
Yeah.
Solo Flex. I think it's called the Solo Flex. But it's got an integrated hood on it. But it's real stretchy. It's gotten really good reviews for it, and kind of eyeballing that suit. Anyway, but I'm a big fan of Pinnacle. It's been really good to me. the very first wetsuit I got was a shorty, a 3 mil shorty,
Yep.
and it's Pinnacle. I still have it. I was looking at it the other day, and it's actually starting to show some wear. But you're talking after about 5 years of diving, guys. So it's lasted. It's done what it needed to do, and I think I'll probably end up replacing it. I'm not sure if maybe this summer, but hopefully it'll last me at least one more summer, and then maybe next summer.
Yeah, last year I had to not one, two 3 mil shorties because they'd finally given up the ghost. The older one, the
blue one you have.
Yeah, the blue one. Who made that? SC. I forget what that stands for. But I had that one since I started diving in 2000.
Yeah.
And it finally said, okay, bye. It was coming apart. Literally, it was coming apart. The zipper, and all of a sudden all the teeth went. It's time to get rid of it.
Yeah.
When the zipper collapses on you.
But there's a lot of great gear out there, just depending on what fits you and fits your budget, obviously.
Yep.
And what else do I use? The Sunto computer. It's called the Gecko, but that for sure I am gonna upgrade.
Yeah.
I am gonna upgrade that because on my other set of gear, that's the only thing that I'm missing is the computer, because I have analog gauges on the other one.
Right.
So I'm gonna upgrade my computer on the system that I currently use now, and I'll just move that computer over to my backup system. So I'll have two computers running. I'm still not sure what kind of computer system I'm gonna get, but something's been itching on my little rib cage here to want me to get entirely new gear. And you know me, when I go, I go all out with the particular brand.
Right.
And I've actually been eyeballing the Scuba Pro, the MK.
Oh yeah.
I think it's the 25, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah. So I don't know, but if I do end up going that route, I will. Robert makes fun of me, but I'll go all out, and not only will I get the regulator and the octopus and everything, but I'll go out and get the mask, the fins.
Quite a fashion statement he is.
I just like everything to be uniform. That's all. I'm not so much fashion statement, but I like everything to be the same. And the only thing is the BCs. That's the only thing that kind of holds me up, because their BCs haven't changed much.
Right. There are so many new ones. I look at the latest Sport Diver and Scuba Diving magazines, and there's just some awesome looking new BCs out there.
Although, I'm a big fan. My favorite color is purple. When I was looking at the magazine the other day, I did see the new the Pro QD.
Yeah.
It's in purple.
I was like,
it's got a little purple trim. I was like,
yeah, I know.
Oh,
okay,
man.
there's the
maybe I
right
won't.
there.
Maybe I'll just stick with that.
And it looks like it was rated as being pretty lightweight. So for you travelers out there that know that it costs you an arm and a leg to lug your gear all over the place, if you go with your gear, that becomes a more important feature, is that how light is your gear. And you will see that in a lot of the ratings for scuba gear, whether it's the regular setup or the BCs, whatever, you will see they're rated on how much weight they add to your travel.
Yeah. The other thing too was oh gosh, my mind went blank. Never mind. As you were saying, Rob.
Well, in contrast to your all or nothing approach to scuba gear, mine is pretty much a hodgepodge. I try out different things. If I like a particular regulator, I don't care who makes it. I will go with that regulator. If there's a computer that I like, I don't care who makes it. I don't care that it necessarily matches my BC or whatever. I'll go with that computer, and so I have a hodgepodge. My current rig is a Modest BC, which I shared last week, has some issues with the weight pouches that I need to address. So I am kind of looking at possibly changing out BCs as well, because I saw that purple one, and I'm like,
what's cool about that is, I mentioned my friend Dominic earlier, and he's got the Pro QD, but he's got the i3
that has the power inflators on the side.
The power inflator is integrated onto the BC as opposed to the hose. And So that actually was really cool.
It is cool. It is cool.
And
it's becoming a more common feature on various manufacturers.
But he also does have he also still has his power inflator and everything here on the side.
He runs with both.
He runs with both because he also has
his
alternate
regulator is on there. Okay.
But he also has an octopus over here on the side as well. So he's got like 3 alternate air sources.
You know, there's so many places I could go with how funny that is, but I'll just leave that go. And so my fins, I've got Tusa, the split fins. Love those for almost all kinds of diving, except for if you are worried about kicking up silt, like if you're doing a wreck diving or something like that. Because it's too easy with the way those are designed to kick up silt. You typically want to go with something that's a little bit shorter and more rigid, kind of like the jet fins. Those are pretty much ideal for cave or wreck diving. But for just about everything else, I do love the split fins. If I'm going to be in a little bit stiffer current, I have some caravels that are just a typical paddle type fin, but they're more rigid. They're really good for that because they just allow you to push harder if you need to. The computer is a Oceanic. I've got
it's a nice computer.
Yeah, I really like it. I upgraded to the Oceanic 3.0 last year, and I've been really pleased with it. I run Oceanics for all my Oceanic computers for all my student gear. The VO 180s, I think, for those. They're a very good basic computer, have all the typical bells and whistles, and just great for students to learn on because that's typically what they're going to get to experience.
Yeah.
And I go through a number of different masks, just depending on my mood. If I want something low profile that I don't need a lot of window in, then I've got some for that. And I've got some that have the reverse teardrop shape that gives you a lot more visibility, peripheral vision. I usually would do that. I don't use those. I like that either for teaching with students because I see everything that's going on, or night dives. They're really good because you never know what's coming around into your peripheral vision. What I wanted to do real quick, this we're kind of running late, but then we got started late because of the technical issues we're running into. I wanted to throw up I'd like for us to just kind of get in the habit, if we can, just throwing up a little video here and there. Different experiences, and I've got a video I'm going to post up here of this was taken a couple of years ago with one of my students on the last dive. Just executed all the required items, so this was just going out and burning off some air. This is at Scuba Cove in Lake Amistad, and this almost never happens, so I was really glad I had my camera with me. We came to an area that was about 20 feet down, and all these carp and I normally only see 1 or 2 at a time. They see you and they're gone. But as you can see in the video, they just were all over the place. It was crazy. I was like, well, let's just park here. So we just let all the air on our out of our BCs and just parked there for about 10 minutes, and I got this much footage. The rest of it we just kind of watched. But I mean, this is just amazing. You just never see this many carp seriously hanging around you, and they just you could reach out and touch them and have to actually let you. They were just so they were so close. It was amazing. You just don't get shots like that very often. But that's the kind of stuff that you can see at Lake Amistad.
Yeah.
Just got past a note, so we're just about winding down here. We also like to throw in a little safety tip. I got the latest alert diver from Diver Alert Network, Dan. A good site to put on your favorites, and if you're a diver, definitely suggest you take advantage of some of their insurance and things like that. That's really a great deal, and gives you a great deal of security too, knowing that you're covered for certain things. Their latest magazine has some typical things that will trigger the kinds of accidents that they do a lot of reporting on. You know, and so so I'm going to read off some of the triggers that they talk about, and you'll probably recognize them if you're a diver. If you're not a diver, they may come as a surprise to you. So some of the typical triggers that show up as far as dive accidents are running out of breathing gas. Now, obviously,
I've experienced that one.
If you're diving, you want to be able to breathe. It's very important.
Right.
Your air is your life, because you can't breathe water. We don't have gills. So making sure that you have plenty of air to breathe, watching your gauges that tell you how much air is in there, and knowing when to come up is absolutely a critical issue. Another trigger is entrapment, and that can come in a number of forms. If you're not trained to penetrate wrecks or caves and you get into one, you can get trapped, get silted out, where you kick up a bunch of silt and you can't find your way back out.
That can be extremely problematic, especially in a wreck. Here in Del Rio, there's the dam that's buried.
Yeah.
That the Park Service won't allow people to dive into the actual structure itself because, again, like you mentioned, you kick up silt and they lose their bearings and then they drown. You run out of air. Exactly. So you have to be real careful with that.
You could also get entrapped out at Lake Amistad, although we do have some little caves. There's a lot of fishermen out there. So you can get tangled up.
We have.
Yep. Sure can. If you dive shallow near shores, you at some point you're going to get wrapped up in fishing line out there, and it can be disconcerting if you're not prepared to get yourself cut free or have your buddy cut you free. So that could be another thing cause panic. You run out of air, or you do something stupid in a panic and you take your regulator out screaming for the surface, or you knock off your mask and freak out and suck water in through your nose. A number of things can cause damage. Equipment problems, which is why it's important to service your gear regularly, clean it properly, take care of it. Don't just throw it in the back of a truck and leave it there until the next time you dive. You go a little bit, what I would call overboard, when it comes to cleaning your gear. But if you're going to err one way or the other, that's the way to err, is on the side of just going overboard and cleaning.
I just want to make sure that I take care of it. I mean, yes, I go a little bit overboard.
Right.
I mean, I do tend to go to the extreme, but you know, for me, I look at it as, again, it is my life support, and not only is it mine, but when I dive, I also think of it as somebody else's life support, because if you run out of air, or the person who I'm diving with runs out of air, I need to make sure that my gear is in optimal condition to be able to support not only my life but somebody else's.
You know, that's a good point. That's often forgotten. You should be diving with your buddy. If you don't take care of your gear, then if your buddy has a problem, then you're not able to be there to help him out. So that's a good point. Education. My first few dives, actually my first several dives, were without any real formal education in diving. And so, knowing what I know now, that was really stupid. I could have easily endangered my life, or certainly brought on some permanent physical damage because I was not properly educated. So it's definitely important to get the training that's appropriate for the level of diving that you're going to do. Another trigger is practice. We teach you a lot in the course, but there are 20 skill sets that you're required to master as part of the course. And some of those are things that you may rarely come to need as a diver. But those are the ones you need to conscientiously practice on a regular basis. And an example would be the mask layering. This is one exercise that most divers just don't like. And it's where you intentionally let water into your mask, or you take the mask off underwater and you put it back on and have to clear the water out. it is an easy actual process. There's not a lot to it, but you've got to practice it so you get mentally prepared so that it's an automatic thing for you. And you, as a diver, if you dive with other people, you may find that you actually end up using that particular skill quite frequently if people kick your mask, which you've experienced a number of times.
Several times.
And also,
or if your mask fogs up, you know, you may have to actually let a little water in, swish it around just to get, you know, the fog out.
Yeah.
And
I've seen divers who are so scared after, getting certified, even years later, that they just hate to clear the mask, but they will dive with a completely fogged mask rather than let a little water in, swish it around to clear it, and then empty it out through the method that they're taught. Experience. This all is back to the 3 E's. You get the education. Then you need to go out and get the equipment as quickly as you can so that you're more likely to dive. And then go dive. You know, we have a saying. A C card, a certification card, means you can dive. But diving makes you a diver. Exactly. I always kind of tip my head a little bit when somebody says, "Yeah, I'm a scuba diver." The first question I want to ask them, really, how frequently? If they tell me once a year or once, well, you know, haven't been diving a couple of years, and I'm like, you're not a diver. You're a certified diver, but you're not a diver. A diver actually dives. And so you need to have that experience because that's what's going to make those skill sets more ingrained. They'll be part of you. Health. Very important. We have a medical statement that you have to complete anytime you take a course. But after you get certified, you know, I've seen some people who are, if they walk from their vehicle to the shoreline, they're suddenly out of breath and practically passing out. I'm like, you need to get exercise.
I was sick, Robert. I was sick.
No, not you. You do really well. I mean, you know, people would probably assume just by seeing you that, oh, he's probably got problems. I'm like, no, this guy is able to hang with the best of them. But I see other people that, you know, they're skinny as a rail. But, oh, golly. It's like, what holds you up?
Yeah. You know, mind you, if you're looking at this video, the camera adds 10 pounds.
That's
okay?
Right. Nice.
In my case, it's like 20 pounds.
Pre-dive preparation is another trigger. And we've all been there. You need to develop a checklist system of whatever kind of dive you're going to do. It's more extensive to go through it when you're doing a night dive because there's so many things that if you miss it, that's it.
Yeah.
Because night dives have a lot more stress that come with them. But any given dive, you've got to have a process down that lets you go through all your pre-dive. And it's not just, okay, do I have my mask, fin, snorkels, do I have all that stuff? It's like in the PADI course, we teach you to begin with review and friend. You check your BC, you check for your weights, you check for your air, you check for make sure all your releases are working correctly, all your connections, all hoses are connected, and then you check your buddy for that final review. Discuss your actual what's your dive plan, what's your descent point, how you're going to descend, all of that. And then you execute it. You know, plan your dive your plan. But a lot of people do just like, oh, let's go diving. They just jump in the water and like, oh, wait a minute, forgot something.
Yeah, no, got to stress that, you know, the importance of that is make sure that you, especially if you're diving with somebody who you don't know or a first-time diver, make sure that you go over all your make sure you dot all your I's and cross your T's.
Absolutely.
Just to make sure that everything is okay. We dive a lot, Robert and I, and we still, you know, we've gotten into this kind of routine, sort of a sync that we kind of know each other's setup, especially having gone through the rescue course. It's kind of like that's the one thing that you look at once you've gone through that course to see how your equipment is, because you never know when you're going to have to shave it off.
Right.
You know, in performing a rescue, so you got to make sure that you look at things like that. Well, that's how I dive. I'm kind of a funny thing like that, but we got into this routine to it. It's like we already know. I know how his gear is set up. He knows how my gear is set up. We've established this kind of like on type of thing to where we can almost read each other's minds. It's kind of scary, and but we do shout out, especially during night dives. We start, okay, how much air do we have? Is this on? Is you got your air on, your primary lights and things like that. So we do that during the day dives as well, but at night things tend to slow down a lot.
Right.
So if you plan on diving, especially at night, be expecting to do it times 5 slower, because you can't really see except whatever is shining or whatever your light is shining at. So it's just things move really slow.
Yeah.
I've always gotten harped at, like, you're diving this late and what took you so long? Well, the dive was a 45-minute dive, but it took us 2 hours to get into the water because we're prepping our gear and we're doing it in the dark. And then when you get out, you gotta take all your gear off, put it away, get it back up. So I mean, things move slow. So just you just gotta be patient if you're gonna do a night dive. But definitely make sure that you go over your checklist and establish one if you don't have one, and just get used to going over it with your buddies.
I think I'd like to point out, though, he said we're getting ready in the dark, but it's not like completely in the dark. It is dark outside because it's late at night.
Well,
we have lights.
Yeah, we have lights.
Because I had this vision of people who don't know the lingo and the experience. They're envisioning, what? You're going to be in the water in the dark, and you're trying to get everything together, and you can't see anything.
We're hung upside down. We're blindfolded.
Exactly. It's a full test to make sure you can handle all the stresses that go with night diving. No, it's not really that bad. Actually, to me, night diving is some of the most fun diving that there is. It's just so peaceful, especially at the lake, because during the day you have boats going on around out there, so all through the water, and people splashing and noise, cats and dogs living together. It's mass hysteria. But when you're doing a night dive, it's so quiet. All you hear is literally fish. I mean, you just hear, and your bubbles. That's it. It is
and
so
the fish
beautiful.
are burping.
Yeah.
It is the fish burping.
It is the fish. They're pretty wild. But yeah. Now the last trigger that Divers Alert Network talks about is the dive itself. And so obviously, once you're underwater, that's where things are likely to happen. You've got to make sure that all your skills are tight, and you're watching your gauges, you're paying attention to your buddy's gauges, you're communicating frequently, and sharing anything that goes wrong. Any reason is a good reason to abort a dive. So if either of you develops an issue at all, and you feel, okay, this could be a problem, you call the dive. You just, okay, we're going up. That's it. So you log you mark your time. You head up to the surface, do your 3-minute stop at 15 feet, and then make sure you get positively buoyant on the surface, and then work your way back to shore, the boat, or whatever it is. That's and like I said, any reason is a good reason to say, okay, knock it off. We're coming up to the surface.
Right. And with that said, I'll go ahead and bring up my dive tip. My dive tip of the day.
Here we go.
If you do experience or you encounter an uncomfortable dive, and you do have to, for some reason, call a dive, and you find that your dive buddy, whoever it may be, persists in wanting to like push on the dive or whatever, then you go ahead and just make a mental note of that. If your dive buddy is really truly has your best interest at heart, and as an experienced diver, they will go ahead and call the dive no matter what. It doesn't matter if you've been in the water for 3 minutes, but it should not be a big deal to them.
Right.
And if you find like they're harping at you or complaining, then maybe perhaps you need to make a note of that and say, I'm not going to dive with you anymore, because they really do not have your best interests at heart.
That's a good point. You, over time, will find yourself diving with people that you don't normally dive with. If you go on trips, where you're in a group of people, you may find that you're not diving with somebody that you've been diving with before. So you've got to have that communication ahead of time. You talk to each other to find out what your experience is, and then you dive appropriately. You have that communication. You discuss the hand signals you're going to use. Discuss your gear. The last year, my wife and I went on a trip to Curacao, and which was great. But one of the dives when we went on, there was a woman there who, it was her 10th dive ever. That includes the 4 that her certification came with. This was her 10th dive. So as an instructor, that kind of put me on alert. I was going to be watching for certain things that could be a problem with new divers. And the dive master who was leading the dive was also, he was kind of partnered up with her. And so he was watching for things. So while I did enjoy the dive, and it was his responsibility to watch things, the instructor in me kicked in, and so I was watching for certain things, and I saw the fogging of the mask, the buoyancy control issue. I saw all the things that you typically see with a newer diver. But those are things that are good to know if you're partnered up with somebody. Is what's your experience level? What's your how much experience do you have? How tight are your skills?
Well, because it goes back to the same thing. Even though you are an experienced diver, if your equipment might have failed and they partnered you up with somebody who's got only 5 dives under their belt,
right?
They just became your life support.
Yeah. And potentially a liability.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you run up to them and start giving them the hand signals, hey, look, I'm out of air. Let's go.
Right.
They might panic, even though they went through the course and everything. They're gonna be like, oh my God, is he really asking for air source?
Exactly.
That's what going back. That's why I always stress. If you do dive, try to get your rescue diver certification, because you really learn a lot in that class. Yeah. You really pushed my my physical level. Yeah, in that one, I gotta honestly tell you, but it was so fun.
It's a confidence builder.
Very,
sure.
Very. It's kind of like, I can't describe it. It's just one of those things that you got to do it, but nonetheless, it is a lot of fun. So,
yep. So those are just some of the triggers that Divers Alert Network mentions in their latest publication that can get you in trouble as a diver. So with that, I know we're running pretty late compared to our normal time, but hopefully y'all enjoy the episode. We'll probably try a few things out just prior to uploading it to YouTube. But by all means, check it out. I encourage you to spread the word. We'd like to get as many people watching as possible and participating. Like I said, we've got the chat room that we have open, and we definitely invite questions, comments from folks. This is a dynamic show as far as being able to react to folks that want to participate. So with that, we will see you.
Shoot us an email
if
you got
please.
Any questions. My email is...
what is your email?
What is my email, actually? It's RS as in Robert Sam Garza, Garza, 821 at yahoo.com.
And you can also follow him on Twitter. I've got, if you look at the lower third there, we've got your Twitter account on there.
Yeah, actually, I haven't had that very long, and I kind of started messing with it, with my iPhone and stuff, and I think you're the only one following, you and Monica, so I'm feeling a little neglected. So if you're listening, please follow me on Twitter. I'd like to actually start utilizing that a little bit more.
Use the technology.
Yeah.
And of course, I've got my Twitter account right there, Robert CFP. So by all means, follow me, shoot me a tweet. I respond to folks. You can also find us on Facebook. Also check out the Del Rio Dive Club website as well as the Facebook page. And just a quick, go ahead.
Oh yeah, my Facebook. I am on Facebook also. You can find me under RS Garza 435.
435
at AOL.com.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
A quick programming note. For those who know me, I am also somewhat active in the local community theater, and so we open a show this next weekend, Showstoppers, which is basically musical review, different numbers from various Broadway shows. And so, since that will be going on Saturday evening, actually Friday and Saturday evening, what we'll probably do is, we'll put this on the Facebook page as well, we'll probably try to do a broadcast earlier in the day if possible, and then we'll put that up on YouTube for folks, and that will be for this next weekend and the weekend after, because I'll be doing that show. So be aware that we will have a time change just for the next 2 weekends. That does happen, and so we'd like to be flexible because we're doing this in our spare time, and we have no sponsors yet, so we have no actual contractual obligation to maintain this kind of regularity, other than to get you as loyal listeners or viewers. So without any further ado, we're going to sign off for this week. We thank you all for participating, and we'll see you on the next episode of Two Guys Who Dive.
Good night.